Even in 2022, K pop companies are still struggling to understand the assignment. Hey guys, this is Not Tanis and welcome to my channel. If you're new, if you're not, then welcome back. How are you? This is my first time talking personally in a video, so if you come across any mistakes, please spare me and bear with me throughout the video. So, let's go. Twice is arguably one of the biggest K-pop groups, and rightfully so. Their chart positions and awards over the years have solidified their position as Korea's top girl group. So when they decided to release their first original English language single, The Fields, it was welcomed by onces and well-wishers alike. It performed reasonably well in the US charts, which was the target basically, and it charted at number 83 on Billboard Hot 100, which is amazing. And it was their first ever entry to the chart as well. The Fields is a great song, a fun, peppy track that I bop to on a regular basis, and it had a great potential to go viral. And it kinda did to an extent, but it was short term and quickly fell out of the charts as well. Regardless of the song's commercial performance, though, it was an amazing opportunity for Twice to officially venture out of the Asian music market, which they are owning from the time of their debut, and step into the Western music scene, which was a move that, according to me, was long overdue thanks to JYPE. English versions of their Korean song counterparts are not new to K-pop world. It has been happening for a long time and will continue to happen. English versions are a way of testing the waters to see whether fans will consume a potential English track and buy or stream it to a level which will aid the company to decide whether the group has demand in English-speaking countries. If they decide that the artist is having sufficient demand, it might then pave the way for a group to release original English singles or even an album fully in English. The very first original English single is special because that means A. The song is specifically made for the English-speaking fans and the wider general public. B. The artist is officially making their US or Western music debut and seeks to establish or enhance their presence in the West. C. The song will also be sonically superior when compared to English versions of the original Korean songs because they are not translations or interpretation but original work. And finally, D. The song's performance and reception from fans will determine the artist's future English releases, if any. The first English single and its commercial performance in terms of charts is much more important than you think because it forms the very basis for companies to decide their further course of action regarding English tracks. In short, if they find it to be a profitable venture, they might do more. The US or UK are major music markets, and succeeding there means more money. Twice is an established group with a long career and great demand. Then why did their English single not do as well as, let's say, Blackpink's D4, which is a Korean song and charted at number 55 on Billboard's Hot 100 back in 2018? Why did The Fields not get that sort of a reception despite being an English track from a popular group? One of the answers to that is they are not as popular as Blackpink are, which is arguably true, but even that shouldn't have been an excuse for the song's relatively weak chart performance, that too when K-pop in 2021 is way more popular than K-pop was in 2018. Another answer is the concepts. Blackpink have been charting on the Billboard charts since debut, and that is partly due to their more Western-friendly badass girl crush concepts. Twice, however, have been doing cutesy concepts and its variants for quite a while, before finally breaking out of it once and for all with Fancy in 2019. Even after their concepts evolves and their audience growing, the US still remained a somewhat distant entity in terms of chart placement. The most pertinent answer would be the fact that Twice is simply not promoted enough in the US to create the kinds of demand one would need to chart a song higher up on Hot 100. They had a grand total of 3 American performances for the fields, and that is extremely low, especially if you're looking to chart well. I have a feeling that whoever was in charge of their Western promotions just messed up big time. Like, the pandemic might have been a hindrance, but surely there shouldn't have been a problem in bagging a couple more performances in some more late night shows, and maybe a few guest appearances here and there if possible. After all, it's not like they have no demand or no fans. Twice should have done much more American interviews rather than a handful we currently have, even before The Fields was released. They are new to the American interviews, but they haven't done much either. It makes sense because the US is not the target market, but that's not an excuse anymore, especially if they are going to target the US down the line anyway. This is where company stands are gonna be mad at me, but I cannot stress this enough. JYPE is so useless that it's frustrating. You have one of the biggest girl groups and you promote them like that. Of course, YG takes the cake for mistreating successful girl groups, but JYP isn't far behind in that area. Twice could have been huge, and by huge I mean like a household name by now. They have got a great discography, performances, and personalities. There's literally nothing that they lack. But what we see is a steady decline in their chart performances, even in Korea, which used to be their stronghold. Sure, their concept change is a big factor in the Korean public failing them, but Twice's title tracks have never been experimental or something the GP would not be able to get a hold of. It just meant that they were not promoted efficiently. An emphasis on efficient. JYP does not know the meaning of that word. Someone teach that company to pick up a dictionary instead of those horribly auto-tuned mics that dude out there is bent on torturing us with. That was a joke, by the way. The reason I'm talking about efficient promotions is that Twice is a group that is overworked. Everybody knows it. It's hilarious because they're overworked and yet not promoted properly. Like, these two things doesn't make sense together. I didn't know it was possible until I saw it before my very eyes. K-pop promotional strategies goes like, drop an album, promote it for maybe a month on music shows and other variety shows, enter a blank period, come back with another repackage or new album before the year ends, rinse it, and repeat. Twice does all this, except in 2 times more speed. They come back at least 3 to 4 times a year, including Japanese and Christmas comebacks. Then what is actually the issue? JYP needs to realize that releasing album after album isn't promotion. What happens after is the promotion. Music shows with 0.2 ratings and $85 in earnings isn't promotion at all. This almost traditional K-pop promotional strategies has obviously not worked well because K-pop groups are still relatively obscure on Korean charts. Twice's songs are glorious and it deserves to have a place on the damn fruit chart, but JYP is only concerned with wearing them see-through pants and tooting his own horn. Okay, I admit that JYP isn't personally managing Twice and that I'm just mentioning him for shits and giggles, but strategies from JYP in the past and the present are usually always tanking. We saw that with GOT7. And where did that get us to? JYP as a company needs to understand and secure a plan for longevity. Longevity is the key to successful and lasting career. Chewing out album after album for quick money from fans doesn't help the artist at all in the long run. It's not like I expect JYP to do stuff that actually help their artist, but I'll say it regardless. Like, what about the markets that Twice haven't ventured into, like the US? How can you stop with 3 performances and call it a day? They should actually promote it for at least half a year for the song to have any kind of visibility. If that's not feasible, then at least few months. And that's exactly where Western model of promotions kick in. Western artists will milk the shit out of everything that they drops for how much ever time it's physically possible. Because they do that, the songs remain somewhat stable and helps in year-end award shows. For Twice, who is relatively new to the market as artists looking to chart, not perform, because they've already had sold out concerts in the US, but to chart. They actually need to be visible to general public and bring in new American fans who will then turn into potential buyers or streamers. Twice was late to join the bandwagon Western promotional spree K-pop groups went on after BTS blew up in 2017 and 2018. Groups like Blackpink, NCT, and Monsta X went as soon as possible, therefore garnering a decent-sized fan base there. Twice, on the other hand, did not do any such thing, and save for a few interviews, they largely abstained from Western promotions at all. But what happened was, instead of bringing in new fans, they relied on the existing ones to help them with the feels. I'm all for focusing on Asia because the Asian market is more stable and they're already well known in major Asian countries. But if they're looking to debut in the West, they must have done some more work in establishing their presence before dropping an English single out of nowhere and letting the fans fight for their lives to trying to chart it. Given the circumstances, I actually congratulate my fellow onces because we did really well with the bare minimum. K-pop groups need to adopt a different, more Western-centric style in promotion if they are promoting English singles. Performing it twice and scooting back to Korea isn't going to work, like at all. Maybe unless you're BTS or Blackpink. That is maybe. Pretending like Good Morning America and James Corden are the Western Inkigayo and Music Bank will only get you like so far. While the American shows are actually watched by general public in contrast to Korean ones, and it still doesn't do much in terms of enhancing their popularity, especially now that the market is extra saturated. That means maintaining a presence, and that too in a foreign country, is that much more difficult. K-pop companies need to find new and innovative methods that align with the Western ways of promotion to ensure their artist has the best shot at the charts and career longevity. Like, imagine releasing a general public friendly quality track like The Feels and letting the embers that sparked from few performances and the dance that went viral on TikTok smolder out. JYP should have jumped on the chance and accelerated a second time after the dance went viral. I will take this missed chance at Twice World Domination to my grave, and I just know JYP will too. BTS's first English single, Dynamite, had the opposite effect in terms of charting and overall song longevity. Like, the song is still charting on global Spotify, Melon, and other charts around the world despite being released 1.5 years ago. How did this happen? Yes, they had a much bigger fandom who were already well versed with buying and streaming strategies and had placed several songs in the Hot 100 prior to Dynamite. Yes, they had radio play, whereas Twice radio play was negligent. Like, Republic Records, what are you doing? And yes, BTS is definitely more famous. But that's not what I meant. With Dynamite, BTS performed it at least a minimum of 30 times, each with a different set and outfits. And something different to offer each stage. It's also worth noting that after releasing Dynamite, BTS promoted it extensively for quite a long time, not just in America but also in Japan. The song was a hit in both countries. The song didn't become a hit only because of ARMY's dedicated buying and streaming. All these performances contributed too, as it kept the general public on their toes and kept reminding them to check out the song if they hadn't already. The general public is the key to crack the code of longevity. Please understand that I'm not comparing BTS and Twice's chart positions. It is unnecessary and not really fair to compare the two because of how different their levels of fame and worldwide reach are. I am merely pointing out where Twice's team went wrong in terms of their promotion by using the already existing blueprint of Dynamite's promotional tactics. BTS promoted Dynamite like how a Western singer would have promoted their song, and that essentially is why the feels couldn't really pick up the pace after the explosive start. Which is a shame because it could have been their breakthrough track. It had the potential to do better than it did, and I'm tired of JYPE making them release album after album instead of investing time and money into proper promotions. Twice are a 7-year-old group, and JYPE needs to give them their flowers by promoting them smartly instead of forcing them to crank out album in the speed of a light. Like, think about it. The K-pop formula or method of promotion doesn't work in Korea itself. So how on earth is it supposed to work in the West? The West is already racist and xenophobic to Asian artists. At this point, you're only catering to or trying to cater to a certain amount of normal, sane, and open-minded people. Because of that, it's essential that you leave no stone unturned when it comes to Western promotions, especially because it doesn't happen too often and also because it is not the homeland, like JYP and Republic should start off with trying to get opportunities as guests on these late shows instead of just performances. More radio interviews is a must. I'm not sure what they were trying to do with the feels, but if they were trying to have their Trojan horse moments, then I'm afraid it didn't work out as well as it should have or could have. If the feels was just supposed to act as a guinea pig, then I suppose they won in that aspect, because even with just the bare minimum in terms of promotion, Once did not slack off and did try their absolute best. I hope that JYP and Republic understand that my girls and the fandom are more than capable when it comes to the US and can do much more. If only we received what we deserve. Radio spins, more remixes maybe, and a longer promotional period. Of course, like I already said, COVID and probably Jeongyeon's absence could have been a reason for them not going too hard, but I'll take that only if it comes from the girls themselves. K-pop as a whole is oversaturated in South Korea, and it has already begun to show effects of saturation in an already crowded market like the US, which accepts only 1 to 2 POC acts for their annual POC representation showcase. The US being racist only makes it tougher for any POC act outside the US to penetrate the market, unless they already have huge demand like BTS did in 2016 or 2017. K-pop might be ready for the West, but the West is most definitely not ready for K-pop. As K-pop's visible and well-known representative, BTS, themselves have stated that they do not think they could ever become a part of mainstream in the US, and the West continues to treat them poorly in the big year of 2022. If this is the case for BTS, everyone else is going to have it extra hard. And yet, that doesn't mean we have to take the bare minimum from their agencies. The agencies still owe it to them to provide the absolute best in terms of promotion and any other form of support. But here we have K-pop companies like JYP trying to milk the fans for more money by giving out album after album, instead of having one album or one single be promoted properly in the market that they want to be penetrating. And for everybody who complains about the westernization of K-pop, let me just break it to you, K-pop was always westernized. And if a group is releasing an English single, that means it is targeted to the West and it should be promoted properly. Otherwise, it just ends up being useless and unimpactful. Promotion, longevity, and general public. These are the three main ingredients for a song to perform well in the US. As soon as the companies realize this, the better. And that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for listening to me ranting for, I don't know, so long. And I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts on this topic, just leave it in the comments below. I would love to read them and have more different perspectives on this situation. And I really hope I won't see any company stands being so much affected by whatever I said. It is completely my opinion and what I have observed, and if you think otherwise, please do let me know. Also, if you really enjoyed the video, please give a thumbs up and comment down below what you liked about it. Help me with the algorithm. Please consider subscribing to the channel or this will show up in your nightmare. Follow me on Instagram, the handle is right in front of you. Follow me at Nothanis. I will see you in my next video. Until then, bye bye. Have a great day. 나보다 난 사람은 나 행복해 날 잊을 않고